keep moving forward.
What's going on, everybody? Put your ones up in the air. I'm your host, Cage. This is Cage My IQ's UFC 292 picks and prediction show. Usually I'm joined by my co-host, Miles Long, but he is sick right now, so it's just me this week. I'm going to be breaking down this highly anticipated pay-per-view event live from the TD Garden Arena in Boston, Massachusetts, with the main event of Aljamain Sterling versus Sugar Sean O'Malley. Before we get into any of that, of course, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, W Energy. It is the stuff that you take to get you the energy without having any of the grogginess afterwards. Check out this video about W Energy right now.
Yo, what's good, brother? You ready to live stream?
Oh man, I just don't know. I'm feeling real low on energy right now.
What? You know what, man? I know exactly what you need. You need some W Energy. Let me send you some W Energy right now.
W who? W what? W Energy? What's that?
What's W Energy drink, you say, Tim? W is a clean energy drink that is made to give you focus with no crash, jitters, or against like other energy drinks. W Energy drink contains no maltodextrin fillers and don't use artificial dyes. W Energy drink also contains vitamins, amino acids, nootropic, and 150 milligrams caffeine. Here, Tim, try W's Energy drink, the latest flavor, Dragonade. How do you feel?
Yo! Oh, I'm feeling so much better. Damn, where do I get some more of that W from?
Oh, that's what's up. Just go to the awesome website, w.gg, and use our special code Bloodline1 and get 10% off right now.
That is W Energy. Definitely check it out. Use promo code Bloodline1 to check out all their products and get a discount off of it. Now, check out the video for the Bloodline merch for the Bloodline Entertainment Network. You can't beat any of the products that we have. We got stuff for your phone. We got towels. We got shirts. We got cutoff shirts. You name it, we got it. Check out the video for our Bloodline merch. Put the ones up in the air.
Tired of bored, uninspiring merch? Well, you need to go to bloodlinenetwork.com/merch.
We got merch for everyone. Men, women, kids, in the home.
We got tanks, V-necks, t-shirts, coffee cups.
And we can't forget about beach towels. That's right. Get your ass off that hot ass sand and get your Bloodline Entertainment Network beach towels.
Bloodlinenetwork.com/merch.
For your pleasure.
You want to get your Bloodline merch now while it's hot. We're growing. We got great merch there. I got the black Bloodline merch shirt. I love it. It's very comfortable. Definitely rock it out and support the Bloodline Entertainment Network brand. And of course, if you want to talk to us, if you want to discuss sports, talk about wrestling with us, talk about MMA, talk about entertainment, any of that stuff, please join the Discord channel for Bloodline ENT. The link is in the pinned post. All you got to do is click it, join. Every one of us is in there. We want to get all the fans, everybody that watches the Bloodline Entertainment Network. We want you guys part of the family. So definitely click the link in the pinned post and join the Bloodline ENT's Discord channel. We're doing a lot of things in there to get everybody incorporated, a lot of just talking back and forth. It is a family here at the Bloodline Entertainment Network. We want you to join. So definitely join the Discord channel. Let's get started with the breakdown for UFC 292. This is going to be a popping weekend in Boston, Massachusetts. We got 10 to 11 fights on this card. I've been looking forward to this. We had a couple cancellations. We got a couple fixes, but we are here 2 days away. I'm going to be giving you my picks and predictions, and I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a bet aspect on each fight on this card to go along with it if you're on the betting part of UFC, MMA. And of course, I'm also dropping Cage's bet slip tomorrow as well and to get it you guys ready for that. So definitely check that out. I highlight a few of my bets that I'm going to be placing on UFC 292. We're killing it the last couple of weeks with my bets. I had an off week a couple of weeks ago, but we're back on the winning track. So definitely check that out on the Bloodline Networks, the website that we have for you guys to check out all of our content, all of our articles, and all of my bet slips and prediction videos. So definitely check out the bloodlinenetwork.com website. Let's get started with the action. We got the first fight on the prelims. We got a women's flyweight matchup between Marina Moroz versus Corrine Silva. Marina Moroz is the plus 150 underdog. Corrine Silva is the minus 170 favorite. This is actually a rematch from Corrine Silva early in her career where she got armbar submission by Marina Moroz, but these guys go in two totally different directions since then. Corrine Silva actually was dominating her physically on the mat in that first fight, but she hadn't developed her grappling and her submission expertise at that point, and Marina Moroz was able to expose a mistake that Silva made and then made her tap. In this one, I got Corrine Silva win this inside the distance. I think she gets it done round one, whether it's sub or KO. It doesn't matter. I got her in here. She's the far superior striker. She has the strength advantage, just like she did in their earlier matchup a few years ago. And I think she's going to be able to just maul Marina Moroz. Marina Moroz has that kickboxing style. She's good at striking. She's good at getting inside the clinch and taking her opponents down that aren't stronger than her. But she doesn't have the power in her punching style. She's all about the volume over the power. And Corrine Silva is going to have the strength advantage. She's going to be able to physically just throw herself at Marina Moroz, take her down. She has knockout power. I see her taking down Marina Moroz, getting the fight on top guard, and then either finishing her with the ground and pound with those elbows and strikes, or deciding to take it back and rear naked choking her. She has won all of her fights by finish inside the distance. All but one are in round one. The lone one that was in round two was her very first fight in the UFC. So she is a finisher in general. So I love the inside the distance play here with Corrine Silva because you're not sure what she's going to do, if it's going to be sub or ground and pound TKO. It all depends on the scenario that happens. So I love Corrine Silva in this one. Money line minus 170 is very favorable right now. You want to jump on it when you get a chance. I also love, like I said, inside the distance because she's won all of her fights by finishes, either sub or KO. And if you want to go even further, you want to hit the round one because every single finish but one has been in round one. So if you put that all together, that is a very nice bet to place on this Boston 292 pay-per-view card that's going to be kind of less juicy than the last couple weeks that we've had. It's a lot of favorites are favored to win this one, and this is going to be the best play, I feel like, going into this Saturday because the lines that you get and the fact that she's so dominant in the line is still so favorable for a fighter that is on the up and up, and I feel like she's going to break that top 10 sooner rather than later. So I'm going in this one. I'm going Corrine Silva by round one, and I'm going to go submission. I'm going to go rear naked choke in this one because I think she avenges her submission loss earlier in her career by getting one on Marina Moroz. She's going to work. Marina Moroz is going to work, but she's not the type of caliber that's Corrine Silva is right now. Corrine Silva has established that submission threat that she's built her body up more, and she's gotten more polished with her power striking. So she's the one that's going to win this one by first round. So let's move on to the next fight on this card. We got a women's flyweight matchup again between UFC veteran Andrea Lee versus up and coming star Natalia Silva. Lee is coming in the plus 275 underdog, and Natalia Silva is coming in the minus 350 favorite. I'm going with Natalia Silva to win by second round KO. We got Andrea Lee. She's a very polished kickboxing star, and she lost her first couple fights in the UFC. Then she ripped off a 3-fight win streak, and then she's kind of been on the dip since. She had the controversial split decision loss to Macy Barber, which has nothing to do with Macy Barber, but she's very good at fighting from a distance. She's all about volume over power. She has decent hip toss to take down, where she grabs you and throws you down, and then she gets in top guard and does a ground and pound there. But she's all about volume. She's all about out producing you. She's not as physical if she's going up against somebody that's more powerful than her, but she's going to touch them up and try and stay and use her speed, and she has decent cardio. On the other side, we got Natalia Silva, who's been on the up and up. She's showcased that she has the speed, she has the power, she has a really great movement, and she has very underrated Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu experience. She's going to use that to beat you in the clinch with the knees, elbows. But a majority of what she's going to do is with the straight punches. She's going to keep on moving. She's going to hit you for the angles. And with Andrea Lee, she's on the older side of things on her career. She's not as fast as she used to be. She's prone to get hit at times because she doesn't cover her face as well. That's why she tries to keep herself a distance away, kickboxing wise, so she can touch you up and move and avoid a lot of shots. She herself is prone to being taken down. We've seen that in the last couple of fights. That's kind of been her downfall, is getting clinched up and taken down. And that's something, a sneaky play to where I think Natalia Silva can get her there. And I think she might use that early on against Andrea Lee to try and release some of that energy that Andrea Lee has, so she can't move as fast. But I got Natalia Silva just being the first to hit Andrea Lee. She's going to be the first to connect each time. She's going to intercept punches with her own. She's going to have the straighter shots. She's going to have to watch out for those high leg kicks of Andrea Lee. She does a good job of that. But I think inside the clinch is going to be the play for Natalia Silva against Andrea Lee. And I think she's going to get inside the clinch. She's going to throw her down. She's going to be able to get in top or sidebar. And if she doesn't get that sub that a lot of people think that she might get, I do see her winning by ground and pound in round 2. I just think, just like in the first matchup, Silva's on the up and up, and Andrea Lee's on the path down with that losing streak that she had. She's always with the wrong decision. She has the right tools. She's just not quick enough to the punch to beat her opponents, and she doesn't have that finishing power anymore. And when it goes to the judges, this is what happens. You got to make sure that you don't get burned by the judges, and that's something that Natalia Silva has kept herself from having to deal with, is again to the judges, because she has that power in her hand. So I got Natalia Silva winning by round 2 knockout. In this one, I do not like that minus 350 odds. I think it's too big. If you're going to play anything here, maybe look at the under 1.5 line for the fight, or look at Natalia Silva just by KO, TKO prop. You might find something with that one, but there's not going to be a lot for you to look at with it because of the lines. The lines aren't screaming for any of the favorites this week. But if you look at some of the odds that they have that I'm bringing up for you, there are some ways to find loopholes around it. Like you got Natalia Silva, if she wins by KO, TKO, DQ, plus 325. That's very well. her by submission plus 400. You can look at that. If the fight were to go to decision, that's plus 150. But if you want to play it safe, definitely do Natalia Silva winning by inside the distance. It covers everything inside the distance. Sub, DQ, you got KO, TKO, and that's plus 150. And you look at the over 1.5, it's minus 375. So they're expecting to go a little bit longer. But like I said, if you go under 1.5, it's plus 260. So you can get very good odds if Natalia Silva can get her out under 1.5 rounds. And because you're doing the inside the distance as well, you're hitting on plus 260 and on plus 150 as well. So definitely look into that if you feel confident with this one. I'm going to stay away from either one of those because I love the Cream Silva bets even more. And I feel like Natalia Silva, she could go either way. She could win inside the distance or she could go to decision. So I'm going to stay away from this one, but those are the ones I like if I were to go and bet Natalia Silva. But definitely also look at live bet this one as well, because if Andrea Lee, who's usually a fast starter, can go and win round one, you're going to get better odds live for Natalia Silva. So keep that in mind as well for this one. But for this one, I got Natalia Silva by round 2 KO. Let's move on to the next fight on the prelim. We got a men's middleweight matchup between Gerard Meerschaert versus Andre Petroski. You got GM3, who is a plus 210 underdog. You got Petroski, who's the minus 260 favorite. I'm going Andre Petroski to win this one by decision. There's going to be the threat of Gerard Meerschaert submitting him or getting him to choke out in the first 2 rounds because of he is very good with his chokes. With how Andre Petroski wrestles offensively, it could put him in positions to get guillotined. But I feel like Andre Petroski has managed his gas tank very well the last couple of fights. He's gotten better as just a pure MMA fighter ever since he left the Ultimate Fighter. He's undefeated. He's done well with his wrestling. Even his submission game, you saw that fight against Nick Maximoff, where he was able to get him in the choke and submit him. This is going to be a very good test for Andre Petroski to see where he's at. I think he gets the wrestling going. I think he's the better power puncher. Meerschaert might be the better accurate striker, but I feel like Petroski's going to do more damage with his strikes than Meerschaert is. I think Petroski's going to try and use his wrestling to take down Meerschaert. He's going to play it more safe, though. Instead of being more offensive with his wrestling, I feel like he's going to use it for control, and he's going to just use it to throw when he can, avoid the chokes, and just favor control time over position and output. And it's going to give him a chance to kind of wear down Meerschaert. It's going to try and control his gas tank, and he's going to win the rounds by control and the damage that I can do within that time. And I think he's going to be able to do it for at least 1 to 2 rounds. There's going to be that round maybe in between round 2 where Meerschaert is going to be able to come at him a little bit. But I got Andre Petroski win this one by decision. I think his wrestling is going to be the X factor in this fight. When you're looking at bets for this one, he's minus 260, so I'm not a fan of that line. Maybe if you live bet it, you might get lucky. They have it drop down, or maybe wait until right before the fight start and see if a lot of people go on Meerschaert, and then you bet Petroski. But I like Andre Petroski by decision. That's plus 350. That's a very safe one in itself, considering that I don't think he's going to finish Meerschaert. And then you got to hope that Meerschaert doesn't get that lucky submission on Andre Petroski. But I like that. If you look at over 1.5, that's very generous bet right there. It's at minus 135. So if you want to play it safe, you go with that. But those are really the only 2 bets that I'm looking at with this fight. I like the over 1.5, and I like Andre Petroski to win by decision. So I'm going with that one. I think he stays undefeated, and and gets that decision victory because of the ground and pound and the wrestling. And then the one thing, like I said, he needs to avoid those chokes. So he needs to not be too offensive with this wrestling, because he's very dominant with getting those takedowns. He just has to avoid letting his head go out, where he allows his submission artists like GM3 to get the hold of the neck. But I got Andre Petrosky winning by a decision, and I like the over 1.5, and then I like him by decision. Let's move on to the next fight. We got the first of two tough finale championship fights. We got the 135-pound championship. We got Cody Gibson versus Brad Katona. In this one, I love Brad Katona to win this one by decision. This is a very tough fight to decide. I think Brad Katona has a very good overall game plan. He's good with the striking. He's tough as nails. He showcased on the season of The Ultimate Fighter that he has good cardio. He went to war in both of his fights. He has good takedown defense. He has good takedowns as well. He doesn't overdo it with his takedowns, but when he needs to, he goes for it. But he's going to keep on moving forward, and he's going to hit you. Cody Gibson's going to be a challenge show for him. He had a good run as well, but I think Brad Katona is going to do just enough in this one, and he has the experience of the UFC, so I don't think he's going to shy away at all. And this is going to be his second championship for the Ultimate Fighter, so I think the experience is going to be on his side. So I'm going to lean towards Brad Katona in this one to win by decision. This fight just happened, so the lines haven't come out yet because the fight happened on Tuesday, and they just announced it, so I was able to get this in time. But my early bet for this one is Brad Katona to win by decision. Look at what the over 1.5 line is on this fight, and definitely, if it's juicy, definitely hit it. If not, definitely stay away from it. But my lean right now is Brad Katona to win this one by decision and be the first two-time Ultimate Fighter champ. Let's move on to the next fight, the second of two Ultimate Fighter championships. We got the 155 championship between Kurt Holobaugh versus Austin Hubbard. We got Austin Hubbard, who has a great overall game plan. He has decent striking. He has good wrestling. He's known for the boxing and the wrestling, but sometimes he struggles to put it together, and then his defense. That's kind of what got him released from the UFC, but then he got this second opportunity. He's kind of been able to work with Michael Chandler, kind of being able to transition from the grappling to the striking and whatnot. And he had that very close semifinal matchup where he was able to beat Roosevelt Roberts and make it to this one, where I thought it could have went any way with all three rounds, very close, and he got the nod over Roberts. But on the other side, you got Kurt Holobaugh, who went to war as well in his fight against Jason Knight. This guy is tough as nails. He's always moving forward. He doesn't have the grappling side like Austin Hubbard does, but he has the KO power. He has his hands for days. He's going to keep pushing forward. He's going to throw at you. He's not going to let up. He has good cardio. He showcased that he was always going to move forward. He'll take a shot to give a shot. He has a good chin. And I see Holobaugh knocking out Austin Hubbard in round 2. I think he gets it done. A lot of people are going to press on Austin Hubbard for this one because of his grappling. But I think once you get hit, in which we've seen Austin Hubbard get hit in the past and get put down, it's tough to recover from it. And I think Holobaugh has something in him just with the pushing forward and being able to be accurate with his punches and to get into wars with guys. And I just like him, and especially with him being the underdog in this one, I think there's value in going with him because to me, this is a 50-50 fight. But I'm leaning towards the guy that has finishing power in Kurt Holobaugh here. And I think he gets it done round 2. along with bets for this one, this is a little tougher if you look into it. But I love Kurt being the plus 146 underdog. That's good odds on a like 50-50 fight. You look at him winning by KO, TKO, that's plus 500. I think if he wins by that. That's very good and very juicy there. If you look at the under 1.5, that's plus 220 compared to over 1.5, which is minus 300. So if you want to play it safe, definitely go with the under 2.5, which is plus 130. It's still juicy odds there. It's a little favorable where you have the whole fight for the manage to get the knockout, because I think that's what's going to happen. I think Kurt's going to get the knockout and he's going to win this one. So I like the money line plus 146 for Kurt. I like the win by KO, TKO, DQ, which is plus 500. And I like the under 2.5 rounds, which is plus 130. So definitely take a look at those. And definitely, if you're unsure about yourself, wait until it goes live and live bet this one, because you never know. Maybe he loses round 1 and they're going to get even better odds, and then he goes to wins rounds 2 and 3. And that's a possibility, because I do think that he has a better gas tank than Austin Hubbard, and I think you can play that to your advantage there. So maybe you wait. But those are what I like for this matchup here. I think at the end of the day, Kurt Holloway is going to win the 155-pound championship for this season's tough championship. And I like his prospects moving forward because of the skills that he has, and he can add to it afterwards. But I think the factor in this one is the takedown defenses that he's going to have when Austin Hubbard tries to take him down. I think he does a good job of that, and that's going to be his path. The victory here is stuffing the takedowns of Austin Hubbard. But in this one, like I said, Kurt Holloway by round 2 KO to win the championship. Let's move on to the next fight on the card. We got a men's middleweight matchup between Gregory RoboCop Rodriguez versus Denise Tudolin. We got RoboCop, who's the minus 350 favorite. We got Denise Tudolin, who's the plus 275 underdog. I'm going with RoboCop by round 1 knockout here. This is going to be a guns blazing, just a haymaking affair here. You got RoboCop, who is always moving forward. He has very underrated jiu-jitsu. He's pretty decent in the clinch up. He has knockout power. He can take a shot. Depending on from fight to fight. One fight, his chin holds up very well. Other fights, if he gets hit perfectly on the chin, he goes down. But for the most part, he showcases his good chin in fights. Then you got Denise Tudolin, who, just like RoboCop, he has a good power in his hands. He throws. He's a good dynamic striker. He has showcased that he is very hittable in fights. He has a very underrated grappling, but he has shown a knack for not being able to take hits in the past, and he showcased that, which is not very well. You look at the last couple fights that he's had compared to RoboCop, and he gets rear naked choke round 1 by Jung Young Park. He barely beats Jamie Pickett by knee to ground strikes round 2. Kriziev chokes him round 2. He's also got choked out again by Askarov. He gets Kimura, and then he's been decisioned several times. But I think now looking at it, I think if you look at the odds, a sneaky play would be Gregory Rodriguez by round 2 or 3 submission, considering the fact that of all the losses by Denise Tudolin, he has lost 4 times by sub, and he puts himself in bad situations. You look at the odds for Gregory Rodriguez by sub, it's plus 170, very favorable. You look at the rounds mark. If you bet over 1.5 rounds, if he gets the sub rounds 2 or 3, like I said, you net plus 135 with the over 1.5 rounds. So with this one, I'm very confident that Gregory Rodriguez wins this fight, and I think he uses the power and the striking to set up the grapple and the submission game to get the tap out. I think he catches Denise with a shot in rounds 2 or 3. He stuns him, and then he jumps on him, and he gets the sub on Denise Tulin, whether it's a guillotine or a rear naked choke. I think he gets one or the other. He has that capability, and we've seen in the past that Tulin has been prone to the tap out. So I got Gregory Rodriguez by round 2, submission via rear naked choke. I like the over 1.5 rounds bet on this fight, and I like the Gregory Rodriguez by sub prop bet as well. I think it's very capable from the get it, and put a very small unit bet on it. Put a 0.5 unit bet on it and see if it happens. And if it happens, you hit. If not, it's not that big of a bet to worry about. But I'm definitely putting a small piece on Gregory Rodriguez by sub in this one. So once again, Rodriguez, I got winning this one by round 2 sub. Let's move on to the prelim main event. We got the return of Chris Weidman after a 2.5-year layoff. This is a middleweight matchup between Chris Weidman versus Brad Tavares. We got Chris Weidman, who's the plus 210 heavy underdog. You got Brad Tavares, who's the minus 260 favorite. I got Brad Tavares win this one by decision. We don't know what Chris Weidman's going to come back to. At one point in his career, he was one of the guys that you thought would never lose. He was very tough. He had knockout power. He was very quick. He has sharp hands, and he was very accurate with the striking. But now, after having his leg just destroyed like he did 2 years ago, we don't know what condition he's going to be in. He's not as built up as he used to be. He's going to be coming in very rusty. And you got Brad Tavares, who has been through a lot the last couple of years. He's consistent with his fighting. It's a very tough out. He did get knocked out by Bruno Ferrer, but in the fight before that, he gave Dracu Duplessis all he could have in a very tough fight, which showed me a lot about how tough Brad Tavares is. And I think Brad Tavares is just going to be just a little bit more quicker. He's going to land a little bit more, and he's going to be a lot more aggressive. Knowing Chris Weidman might come out a little shaky in the beginning and try and feel things out, knowing that he hasn't fought in 2 years. So I think he gets it done by decision. I think maybe Brad Tavares wins the first 2 rounds, and then we see a little bit of more aggressive Chris Weidman in round 3, where he just throws balls to the wall, and he has a successful round 3, but he doesn't get the job done in finishing Tavares. So I got Brad Tavares to win this one by decision. I think that's a very safe bet where they go. I do not like the minus 260 odds. Not very favorable in a matchup like this. But if you go to Brad Tavares by decision, plus 200, that's very good odds there. You got the over 2.5 rounds. That's minus 110 as well. Those are the only 2 lines I really like in this matchup. So I'm going to stay away from it. But if you want to hit it, yeah, my advice is going live bet on this fight. Don't bet on the money line. Live bet it. Maybe Chris Weidman could get an early lead, or maybe something happens to where it kind of it makes it more of a Brad Tavares in the minus 100s area. But if not, like I said, I like the over 2.5 rounds line, and I like the Brad Tavares by decision line as well. So I'm going Brad Tavares by decision in this matchup. Let's move on to the main card. Next fight on the card that we have for you on the main card, we got a bantamweight matchup between Marlon Vera versus Pedro Munoz. We got Marlon Vera coming in at the minus 190 favorite mark. We got Pedro Munoz coming in as the plus 155 underdog spot. This was originally supposed to be Marlon Chito Vera going up against his former opponent, which I was actually excited to see. He was pinned up against Henry Cejudo, but Henry Cejudo had to bail out due to his shoulder that he's going to have surgery on. So Pedro Munoz takes this fight on 3 weeks' notice. Coming in this fight, I'm going with Marlon Vera to win this one by late finish here. You got Pedro Munoz, who is known for his vicious calf kicks. He is a very dynamic kickboxer. He picks and chooses shots. He throws a lot of leg kicks at you to slow you down. He has good takedown defense. He is decent striking with his hands, and he has good movement. He has good cardio. He tends to take too much damage at times because he's always thrown too many leg kicks because that's what he prefers. He's more dangerous, slowing you down and then coming at you with takedowns from time to time. But then you have Chito Vera, who has punching power. He has KO capability. He's good in the clinch, in the Muay Thai clinch, with his knees to the stomach and elbows that he throws to the face. He's always moving forward. He has good takedown defense. He showcased that he can beat the top tier in the division. He's beaten Rob Font. He's beaten Sugar Sean O'Malley, checking the leg kick and hurting Sean O'Malley's leg, and then finishing him with ground and pound. And he just has that killer mentality. So I'm going with Marlon Chito Vera to win this one, to insert himself back into that top 5 status with a late KO victory over Pedro Munoz. I think he stuns him, gets him to the ground, grapples up with them, and then he beats him with ground and pound. So I got Chito Vera on this one. The minus 190 odds are so odds, but they're not as bad. I'm hoping that they drop down to like minus 130, minus 150. If they do, I'm definitely going to bet on Chito Vera on this one. When you look at all the other lines that you have on this card, you got to play it safe with this one because you never know what's going to happen. But going to this one, you got Chito Vera by decisions plus 110. You got Chito Vera by KO, TKO, DQ plus 450. And then look at the over under rounds mark. I think the sweet spot there is under 2.5 rounds, which is plus 255, because I do think that he's going to get the finish, and that's the safe bet, because under 1.5 is plus 400, but you don't have that much rigor room there. But under 2.5 rounds at plus 255, you got a lot of rigor room. So Chito Vera, if he can get a good live on him to win with maybe Pedro Munoz being better in round 1, live bet it, and then live bet Chito Vera after round 1, knowing that he should come out quicker rounds 2 and 3, and definitely hit the under 2.5 rounds mark at plus 255 odds, and definitely look into also Chito Vera by KO, TKO, or DQ, with it being plus 450, because he has the capability of knocking guys out. And I do think that his speed and his quickness inside the clinch is going to be a factor in beating a guy like Pedro Munoz, who is one of the toughest dudes in the division. So in this one, I got Marlon Chito Vera winning by late round 3 knockout. Let's move on to the next fight that we have on the main card. We got a men's bantamweight matchup between Mario Batista versus Damon Blackshear. We got Damon Blackshear, who's the plus 183 underdog, and we got Mario Batista, who's the minus 225 heavy favorite. We got Blackshear taking the fight on short notice after Cody Garbrandt backed out last week due to unknown reasons. He actually surprised he's taking this fight since he just won this past week. So this is going to be his second fight in 7 days. He's coming in this one. He has decent striking, decent movement. He has really underrated submission game. He just won by Twister in the last fight, one of 3 guys to be able to win by Twister in the UFC. And he has KO power, but one of the things that he lacks is his cardio. He tends to do most of his stuff early. Then on the other side, you got Mario Batista. He has a long range. He has great kickboxing. He has good leg kicks. He has good hand strikes, which he mixes up with his leg kicks very well. And he's very well known for throwing a lot of flying knees attacks. And he's going to throw them at you, and he's going to connect on a high rate of those. And he's just going to keep coming at you and overwhelm you. And in this one, I got Mario Batista by round 2 knockout. I think he could get it done in round 1, but I feel like Demarin Blackshear taking this fight on 7 days notice after just winning a fight. I think he's going to put a lot into going at Batista round 1. So one of the things that I'm looking into in this one is, of course, the live bet. I love the fact that Demarin Blackshear has a very good shot of winning round 1. So I'm definitely going to look into live betting Mario Batista after round 1, knowing that Blackshear is going to put a lot into winning in the first couple minutes. Afterwards, you expect him to tire out a lot after actually already fighting already last week. And then afterwards, it's going to be slim pickings for Mario Batista, and he's going to take over from there on out. And I think he's going to weather the storm round 1, and then he's going to go to work round 2, and that's where he's going to get the finish. So I think the best plan is to live bet Mario Batista after round 1, and then go for inside the distance as well. Look into that, because whether it's by submission or by KO, I don't think this fight goes to decision at all. I think Mario Batista is going to win, and win in round 2 by KO or TKO. I think it gets done. So once again, like I said, live bet this one after round 1, and then to bet Mario Batista by KO, TKO, or DQ. I think those are going to be your best bets in this one. So I got Mario Batista by round 2 knockout in this short notice fight in the bantamweight division. Let's move on to the feature bout in UFC 292. We got a men's welterweight matchup between Neil Magny versus Ian Machado Gary. We got Neil Magny taking this fight on short notice after Jeff Neal was forced to bail out to injury. We got, of course, Ian Machado Gary, who's the minus 440 heavy favorite. We got Neil Magny, the plus 310 underdog. I got Ian Gary to win this one by round 2 KO. I think he gets it done. He's showcased a lot in the last couple of fights. The first couple of fights in his career, he kind of got very underwhelmed. He was able to win fights by volume, but he wasn't really showcasing that knockout finish capability that a lot of people hyped him up to be when he got the call to make his debut in the UFC. He was just doing enough just to win fights. He was doing the volume. He was moving around too much. He was kind of showcasing himself a little bit too scared. But now, the last 2 fights, he's showcased the aggressiveness inside of him. He's shown the doubters that he can do it. He's coming in there. He's stepping up to the plate. He's getting in front of his opponents. He's thrown with them. He's connecting with a very sharp jabs. He has good hook. He has a good uppercut. He has power in his hands now. He's putting work into being more accurate, more quicker, catching his opponents on the angles. And that's something that Neil Magny's going to struggle with. Neil Magny's the type of fighter that's going to want to clinch up with you, get this into dirty boxing, dirty clinch-up game. He's going to push you along the cage, just hold you, throw elbows and knees in the clinch, throw in there, and trying to get the fight to the ground with his long reach. But I think that Ian Machado Gary has showcased that he has a very underrated takedown defense. He's going to be very quick to the punch with his strikes. He's going to be quicker than Neil Magny. He's going to hurt Magny, and he's going to be pushing him on the back foot. We saw, even though Phil Rowe lost to Neil Magny, he had him stunned in the very last round. And that's Phil Rowe, and that guy with knockout power. Ian Machado Gary has similar knockout power, but he has way better striking game because of his boxing. So I think Ian Machado Gary is going to just outbox Magny. He's going to stuff the takedowns, and I see him getting that round 2 KO victory here. Of course, the very high odds here for Ian Machado Gary, just not bettable at minus 440. So you're either going to have to wait and hopefully live bet it and hope that Neil Magny has a great round 1. Or if you look into the other bets, Ian Gary by KO, TKO, DQ It's at even plus 100 odds, very favorable there. You got Ian Gary wins by submission, plus 450 there. I might throw like a very small tidbit, 0.5 unit bet on that, knowing that there's a possibility maybe he could get that done. And then there's Ian Gary wins inside the distance at minus 155. That's pretty decent as well. And they're very favorable with the rounds mark. They think the fight's going to go only one round because it's at minus 800, whereas over 1.5 is minus 165, and then over 2.5 is plus 115. I very like that minus 165 mark there. I think in round 2 it's going to be later in the round that it gets finished. So definitely do the minus 165 bet for over 1.5 rounds. I think that's a very safe bet. And then definitely hit the Ian Gary by KO, TKO, or DQ at plus 150. Those are the only ones that I'm considering this one because of the short news fight and the fact that the odds are just too far gone at the money line to even look into betting it. And even if you get the live bet, at best, that minus 440 might get knocked down to minus 200. So look at those two bets I told you. But in this one, I got Ian Machado Gary winning by KO round 2. Let's move on to the next fight on the main card. We got the co-main event here. We got the women's strawweight championship between Weili Zhang versus Amanda Lemos. Zhang is the minus 330 favorite. Lemos is the plus 250 underdog. I got Weili Zhang win this one by round 1 knockout. Both these guys have knockout power. Amanda Lemos has very underrated jiu-jitsu, but she has power in her hands. She's a round 1 robust style fighter. And then afterwards, she showcased that her cardio needs work on. She starts to slow down after she puts a lot of effort into round 1. She puts 100% power into everything that she throws, whereas Weili Zhang, she throws for power, but then she throws for volume as well. She'll take a little bit off of it just to throw at you and to punish you. And in the last couple of fights since training with Henry Cejudo, she has really showcased her wrestling capabilities with the grappling, and that's where this fight's going to get played here. And right now, I think Weili Zhang goes to the grappling and takes down Lemos right away. And then I see round 1 KO, or I could see a round 2 or 3 sub by her because I feel like she's going to wear her on Lemos, and she's either going to punch her and connect with her because she's going to be the more accurate puncher, or she's just going to drain the gas tank of Lemos and then make her tap. Looking at the odds for her on the betting side of things, because I think Weili Zhang is clear-cut favorite here. You got her winning by KO, TKO, DQs plus 140. You got by submission is a very nice plus 300. And then you got of course, the rounds mark. If you look at the rounds, you're really not making anything unless you get to the minus 2.5 rounds mark, which is plus 105. They're assuming that Lemos isn't going to last that long in a loss. So if you go with over 1.5 rounds, it's minus 200. That's going to be your best bet because I feel like this could be a short fight with the gas tank of Lemos not being as well, and then the finishing capabilities she has and what Weili Zhang has. If Lemos were to win, shockingly, it's going to be in round 1 when her power is at its highest. But I feel like Weili Zhang is going to be just too much for her. She has the striking power. She has the grappling. And I think my end bet is going to be round 2 or 3 submission for Weili Zhang. I think she wears her out, gets her to the mat, and she gets her done by Darce choke. And that's going to be my bet on this one. So definitely look at the submission. Put a small bet on that one. Like I said, it's a very favorable bet there. But other than that, I'm staying away from this one. I'm just going to do maybe a very small, minuscule size bet. Weili Zhang by submission because the odds are so high and nice for betting. And the fact that Amanda Lemos has very bad cardio, I think there's potential for that to happen. So once again, I got Weili Zhang win this one by round 2 or 3 submission. Let's move on to the main event evening. Once again, if you tune in for the first time, please smash the like button down below and hit us up in the comment section to the left. Let me know what you think of my picks and predictions for UFC 292, and please give me your betting picks for this fight card this Saturday live on pay-per-view. And then once again, like I said before, please join us on the Discord channel. All you gotta do is hit the link in the pin post and then join the channel. We got a bunch of channels for UFC talk, for sports talk, for wrestling talk, entertainment talk. We got rooms to share your content. We're going to be sharing our content as well. We want to increase and grow the Bloodline Entertainment family. And if you feel like you want to join the family and join in the discussions where we're not live, join the Discord channel on the pin post. We offer everybody up into Discord channel. And it's a perfect way to get to know us and to just talk sports and to have discussions. So definitely join the Discord channel with the pin post in the comment section. Let's move on to the main event evening. We got the men's bantamweight championship between the champion Aljamain Sterling versus Sugar Sean O'Malley, the number one contender. Sterling is the minus 270 favorite. Sean O'Malley is the plus 210 underdog. I got Sterling to win this one by round 3 submission via rear naked choke. You got Aljamain Sterling, who has a good frame. He's tall for the division. He has high level Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He's a submission expert. He loves to get the back of his opponents and then use the backpack technique to wear him out and to get him on the mat to look for submissions. He attacks with straight jab and strikes. He throws naked kicks. He keeps his hands down low, which is one of his weaknesses. And his cardio has been an issue for him in fights, but the last couple of fights, he's kind of showcased that he's able to manage his gas tank. He's able to adapt to new situations in different fights to get the best performance out that he can put. On the opposite side, you got Sean O'Malley, who has that great kickboxing style. He fights well from the distance. He's quick. He has high level takedown defense. He's able to mix up leg kicks with strikes. He outpours a high volume outtake. He's very quick. He's going to be the quicker guy to the punch when it comes to striking. He gets in and he gets out right away. And the only blemish that he has on his record is fighting, of course, Cheetah Vera, where his leg kick got checked and then he got hurt because of the damage that Cheetah was doing to combat that leg kick. And then you have the Pedro Munoz fight that got NC'd because of the eye poke. He was actually losing in that one because of leg kicks. So I could see a scenario where you see Sterling attacking the weakness with the leg kicks, and then looking for takedowns. Because even though Sean O'Malley has a good takedown defense, he is a very one-dimensional fighter. He's all about just striking, staying up movement, throwing at angles, and then just overwhelming you with the quickness and the power that he has. Whereas Aljamain Sterling can stand up and trade with you. He has really good naked leg kicks, like I said. He keeps his hands down because he feels good about his defense and movement, and the fact that he has high level wrestling / jiu-jitsu. He has a high level in both, and he trains with Merab every day to prepare for these type of fights. So when it comes to cardio, I think he's going to be fine. And he just went out a few months ago with a 5-round grueling fight with Henry Cejudo, who tested him on the grappling level. So really, the only test here with Sean O'Malley is the striking. I feel like he's going to go back to that fight with Corey Sandhagen. It's very similar, dealing with a guy with a long reach, with a tall frame and a very high level striking background. But I think he gets it done. I think he gets very successful in the clinch game where he throws inside the clinch. I think he takes the back of Sean O'Malley round 3, and he gets the sub via rear naked choke. A lot of people are going to be on Sean O'Malley to dethrone him because of the striking, but I think just the overall game and then the grappling side of things are going to be Sean O'Malley's downfall because he's very one-dimensional. And I think Aljamain Sterling retains his belt in this main event on UFC 292. When I'm looking at bets, the minus 250 odds for Sterling at this time, I think they just dropped down a little bit from 270 to 250. I'm gonna live bet it because we have we got 5 rounds, so there's a very good chance of waiting and hoping that Sean O'Malley has a very good round 1. And then you live bet Aljamain Sterling when it's closer to even, possibly minus 150, which would be favorable for a guy like him who has very good experience in 5-round fights. You look at Sterling by submission, it's plus 175. And then you got him by decision, which is plus 240. Those are 2 very favorable things if you can get the grappling side of things going. And then I also like over 2.5 rounds in this one. That's at minus 135. So you get a little bit of everything there. You get the over 2.5 rounds. You got Sterling by sub, and then you got Sterling by decision. If you do a little bit of everything, you cover all your grounds. And I think that's a favorable way to go with that one if you want to bet on this one. Personally, for me, I'm going to wait until it's live, and then I'm going to maybe live bet Sterling after round 1. Other than that, I'm going to stay away from this one. There's a lot of other avenues, like I talked to you guys before, that I'm going to tack on with this fight hard this Saturday, but there's definitely avenues for Aljo to beat Sean O'Malley in this one. I could have went with Sean O'Malley, but I feel like the grappling is going to be the X factor for Sterling to retain his title in the bantamweight division over Sugar Sean O'Malley. So once again, in the main event, I got Aljo Sterling winning by round 3 rear naked choke submission. That'll do it for the UFC 292 the picks and predictions by Cage My IQ. I will be back next week for UFC Fight Night. We got a great one for you next week. We got 6 weeks more straight of UFC action. So I'm going to be with you guys every week until the end of September. The next fight card, like I said, is UFC Fight Night. Max Holloway versus the Korean Zombie live from Singapore Indoor Stadium in Singapore. And so we get, of course, international fight night card, which is very exciting. And we get likely the last fight for the Korean Zombie against decorated UFC future Hall of Famer in Max Holloway. My early prediction is Max Holloway gets it done by decision. That's my early take on that one, but I'm definitely looking forward to that fight night card. And next week, Miles will be back next week with me for that one. So definitely check us out every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. This was a very special Friday edition of UFC 292 picks and predictions, considering that we had an off day today with a couple shows off. So I wanted to fit inside that spot and cover for the Bloodline Entertainment family. And so I moved from Thursday to Friday just for the week. So we'll be back in our normal Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern time slot live on YouTube. And check out all the other content that we have covering anywhere from wrestling to, of course, fantasy football, fantasy baseball. We got wrestling. We got entertainment with Graydon. He covers, of course, movies each week. He just did his Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one last week. This week he did his Gran Turismo review. And then next week he is doing his Blue Beetle review on the director's cut. So definitely check that out with him and check out all the content that we have on the Bloodline Entertainment Network. So don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel down below. hit us up in the comment section, smash the like button, and check out all the articles and all the stuff that we have on the bloodlinenetwork.com website that we have up right now, with everything that we have, from podcasts to articles to merch to our sponsor at W. So once again, before I get going, I'm just going to give a shout out to our sponsor, W Energy Drink, and the Bloodline merch. So definitely check out the merch video. But other than that, I am Cage. I'm the host of Cage My IQ, and I'll see you guys next week for another edition of Cage My IQ. Thanks for tuning in.
Tired of bored, uninspiring merch? Well, you need to go to bloodlinenetwork.com/merch.
We got merch for everyone. Men, women, kids, in the home.
We got tanks, V-necks, t-shirts, coffee cups.
And we can't forget about beach towels. That's right. Get your ass off that hot ass sand and get your Bloodline Entertainment Network beach towels.
bloodlinenetwork.com/merch.
For your pleasure.